welcome to my castle. I'm glad you could join me today. Have you ever seen the cooking show by Ree Drummond called Pioneer Woman? That's how she opens her show. Welcome to my frontier. She lives really close to Pawhuska, Oklahoma, which isn't far from where my mother-in-law lives, and really not that far from where I grew up. But I don't live on the frontier anymore, so today I said, welcome to my castle, because that's what we're going to talk about today, castles. You know, castles are built over hundreds of years. They have wide, thick walls. They're built on solid rock. And that's what we're building, isn't it? We're trying to build a strong, protected fortress for God's glory and His use, and not just a straw house that the wolf can blow down. We're working from Proverbs chapter 25, verse 28, which says, "He that hath no rule over his spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls." Or, I like to envision it, a castle without walls. So we need to remind ourselves that that's our goal as we work through depression. And we also need to remember about the building materials that we're using. 1 Corinthians 3 reminds us to not build on wood, hay, and stubble, where the wolf can blow it down, right? But we're supposed to be using gold and silver and precious stones, the precious promises of God, building solidly upon God's word, that rock that we can build our life upon. This will be our last purposeful visit with depression, and we did quite a bit of review last time. So this time I wanted to show you around my castle, because this is how I view my life now. This is something that I learned through depression, and I hope that you can benefit from it today. So I need you to visualize with me. First of all, I want you to visualize yourself, your life as a castle, or just visualize a castle if you can do that. It needs to have a drawbridge, and it needs to have an inner courtyard. It needs to have some turrets, and those are those little towers that are in the corners of a castle. And it needs to have stone walls, which that's what we're building. And after that, it can be as big or as fancy or as little as you want it to be. I usually see my castle as just four square. Maybe I don't have enough imagination, but that's how I see my castle. We spent quite a few visits laying the foundation and learning how to put up the walls, line upon line and precept upon precept, right? Building continually on the things that we learn and using a biblical blueprint based on the promises of God. So today, I want us to look at the other features of a castle. When you enter a castle, you'll sometimes cross a moat and then go across a drawbridge. And there's usually an inner courtyard. It's either slabbed or sometimes it's a green parade ground once you get inside. And the remainder of the castle is built around that feature. So in your mind, I want you to label this courtyard the plane of forgiveness and acceptance. Because underneath this courtyard is forgotten soil. This is the place of silence for the wrongs that you have suffered. And you now stand on top of these things. My devotion book, Springs in the Valley, said, "The power to help others depends upon the acceptance of a trampled life." Acceptance that life is not always what we hope it will be. Things don't always turn out the way that we plan, but we're ready to move on, move forward, and invite others in and be that healing balm for them as they see what we're building. And this courtyard, it forms the flooring for our castle. It is the parade ground where God's grace can be displayed. And when weeds spring up, maybe we're tempted to allow bitterness or resentment or any other weed to cause us to doubt our position, we can apply the blood of Christ because He fully forgives sin, and we can clear our courtyard again. And let's talk about that drawbridge. Not just anyone or anything should be allowed to cross into your castle. You need to learn discretion and use wisdom, especially when you're feeling low. But some people, they just leave their drawbridge open for anything and everything to come in and out. And then they wonder why they're overwhelmed. But the Bible has a lot of instruction here. 2 Corinthians 6:14 talks about being unequally yoked. And the teaching is that we should have fellowship with believers, people with wisdom and like-mindedness that will encourage and build us up. We're to avoid the drama that's caused by angry people in Proverbs 22:24, by foolish people in Proverbs 14:7-9, and even silly people in 2 Timothy 3:6 and 7. Because allowing other people's drama across our drawbridge just at free will creates more unnecessary and unhealthy pressure in our life. So our drawbridge needs to have some boundaries. We need to check who's coming into our castle. We don't have to answer every phone call, every text, every message. Sometimes we just need to turn off that phone, get off the internet, and wait until we're strong enough to deal with what's going on. And we need to learn to filter the things that we're hearing and accepting. And don't take offense at everything that you hear, everything people say, because sometimes people are just speaking through their hat or spouting windy words or not thinking what they're saying. So we need to let those things roll off our back and not look for things to create drama. Use your drawbridge to protect yourself. I'm not talking about shutting yourself away, but using wisdom in the things that you allow into your life, managing your life by using that drawbridge. You will be happier and healthier. Now, every castle has turrets, and these are those small towers in the four corners, and sometimes they're placed inside of a long wall as well to give strength, because they give the strength to the building and they create the parameters for the building. But I see them as markers. They're turning points for me, places where I was hurt, but they reveal a truth that I learned. They become a part of the architecture of the castle, a part of the architecture of my life. And then when people visit my castle and they ask about the turret, I can tell them. There's a wonderful little verse in Zechariah chapter 13 and verse 6 that says, "And one shall say unto him, What are these wounds in thy hands?" It's a great question. And this is what people will ask. What's that turret about? What happened there? Or what's your testimony about these things? And then you can tell them. The verse says, "And he shall answer them, those with which I was wounded in the house of my friends." Did you know that's actually a prophecy about Jesus? Even Jesus had turrets. He had the wounds in his hand. Remember when he came to the upper room and he showed them to Thomas? They were marks that showed the things that he'd suffered. So for me, these turrets show the things that I've experienced. They show the places and the times where Jesus met me there and we learned a lesson together. They mark where the enemy was defeated and victory was mine. And they stand as great reminders. And when I need strength, I can run into them and draw from the things that God has taught me before. You know, wounds can be beautiful things. They show that we lived and we loved and that we experienced things with Christ. And there's no shame in them. But they can't be the focus. Wounds cannot be the focus of our life. They are to be used to point others to Christ and to give God the glory. They are incorporated into our life. They become a part of our castle design. These turrets usually had flags on them. Some of the turrets were low and solid, just creating strength. Others were tall and beautiful, like the one where Rapunzel had her hair. Those were used to house precious treasures. Some turrets were for battle. When you go to Warwick Castle, the turrets were used to pour hot oil on the enemy that would be approaching or trying to scale the walls. So they served many different purposes, and they can do the same thing for us. We need turrets of strength, solid places that build our faith. We need those of beauty and truth where we house the precious promises of God. We need those that warn the enemy of our preparedness, where maybe we store our shield and our sword, or where we take a stand for our Lord. You know, a castle is not just a home of a king or a landlord. It was also a place where the villagers could come in the case of an invasion. And your life, too, then becomes a place of safety for others, where they see the beauty of forgiveness and they find rest and help and encouragement and understanding. And by standing on your plane of forgiveness and acceptance, you create a stronger place for others, a stronger community, and your flags can fly high. My son used to love the little song, "Love is a flag flown high from the castle of my heart, for the king is in residence there." Your castle can point others to Christ and glorify your king. And then, once your friends are gone and the sun begins to set, you can walk your castle walls and survey your kingdom. And I love to do this. I love to imagine standing on the walls of my castle and looking and seeing the land all around me and what God's doing. I can see fruitful fields. I can see trees growing. I can see beauty. I can even see places that need work. And that's okay, because now I have the strength to clear new land and to reinforce any breaches in my castle. And then as you see the evening approaching, you too will realize that you are no longer a city without walls, but you're protected again. You're protected and productive and strong. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what I pray for you. That as you work through depression, you will work through it, build those walls, and start to see what God is doing in your life. We could talk about the dungeon in your castle where lies go to be tried and die. We could talk about the armory, because every castle had one of those where they kept all the swords. We could even talk about the gatehouse and the moat that give you protection as an initial defense. But here's the thing. While you're building your walls, don't stop. You need to have them fitly joined together and create a full protection from the enemy, and then learn how to maintain your castle. It is my prayer that you will face depression with God's word and faith in his precious, precious promises, and that you will use forgiveness and confession and the blood of Christ to create wide and sturdy walls, and that your heart will be open to those in need and ready to share what the battle has taught you with others who need the same hope. Let's not fix our eyes on our current situation, but let's learn to futurize with Christ. Look beyond today to the tomorrow, where we are standing on our wall with his light shining in our eyes and our flags flying high, saying, he brought me through by grace alone. Why art thou cast down, O my soul? Why art thou disquieted within me? Hope thou in God, for I shall yet praise him, who is the health and strength of my countenance. In a few weeks, I'll have these 12 lessons on depression in an ebook and a paperback, and I think I'll use the title, Build That Wall. So please avail yourself of them and of the other two books, Light That Shines and Contentment in Captives, because all of them have teaching that can help with depression and fear and anxiety and the things that the enemy wants to use against us. So meanwhile, keep building, and I'll see you again.